Today, we're talking about the third pillar of Billy Napier's offense, the wide zone, recapping the Gators men's basketball game versus Georgia from last night, and previewing the women's basketball game tonight versus Mississippi State, only here on Locked On Gators.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. Happy Thursday. I am Brandon Olson, Twitter at WNS_Brandon, whole 9 sports for all my written work. And I'm sorry if today's episode is a little bit quick, but it is 2:58 a.m. when I'm starting recording this because it's been a day. And just letting you guys know that for Friday's episode, there won't be one releasing at 8 a.m. Eastern time like usual. I plan on going live at 11 a.m. Eastern time to have, I'm going to go live episode. You know, I did it when I was in Mobile. It was fun. I'm going to do it again now. But getting into Billy Napier's wide zone offense, really, I mean, a lot of people don't know what the wide zone is or zone blocking in general. So when you think of there's zone blocking and gap blocking or man blocking, whatever you want to call it, usually in gap blocking and man blocking, the goal is, you know, the center is going for that lefty tackle. That's what it is. When you're looking at a wide zone, it's more every lineman is just blocking to their left. If there's anyone in their path, that is who is getting blocked. You're just blocking the person in that vicinity, that area. It's similar to man defense and zone defense, where in man defense, it's like, well, that's who I'm covering. And zone defense is like, that area is where I'm covering. So it's very similar to that, where the running back, I mean, he then gets to decide if he wants to take any of the rushing lanes that may be open, the entire line moving along that. Those are my graphics today. Just the entire line shifting, and a running back could decide to go to any lane if there is one. They could decide to cut back, or they could head to the outside the tackle and try to get upfield along the sideline. And I mean, if you're looking at Florida, you're trusting your running backs more to make the right read, and kind of working in this wide zone heavily is why I think Montrell Johnson is going to be big, especially early on, because he's the only one that has legitimate experience running in this offense very consistently. I don't mean in this offense as in Billy Napier specifically. I mean as in running the wide zone offense specifically, because we look at Dan Mullen, the he who shall not be named recently with the Florida Gators. He ran wide zone. He did. He ran wide zone. He ran inside zone. He ran all the zones. And he also ran a good amount of gap runs. And that's the big difference, where Billy Napier will see gap runs every now and then, but for the huge majority of the time, zones, wide zone is what we're looking at. And so, yeah, we'll see it, but it's going to be a little bit different. One of the ways you could think of it is a little bit more of as much as I hate to talk about them, Florida State, but good. Like Florida State goes very wide zone heavy, and you can see that in different. Or if you want to talk about it, the people who really popularized it in the NFL, that Shanahan family, where now everybody that works in that Shanahan, or that worked in that Shanahan offense a decade ago, is a head coach in the NFL. So you look at the 49ers this past year, and you're going to see very similar things. You probably won't see a wide receiver that moves to running back for a bit, but you'll see a very similar offensive run scheme, which is going to be interesting, because you look at this team and you look at the 3 pillars of the Billy Napier offense, and I don't want to say it's similar or it's the same thing as the 49ers, because every scheme is different. Every coach is different. But you can make this very comparable to the 49ers, where you're going to see 12 personnel. And if you didn't listen to yesterday's episode, or if you don't know what 12 personnel is 1 running back, 2 tight ends. One of the tight ends is usually like a tight end, H-back, fullback kind of guy, where he can move around the formation. So you got that. You got pre-snap motion, which, I mean, that causes confusion. The 49ers love to use pre-snap motion, specifically to cause confusion. Like I mentioned yesterday, you can use it to kind of just diagnose what coverage a defense is in. But when you're looking at the run game, it's to kind of cause confusion and create some space places. So you look at the 12 personnel. You've got that move tight end is going to be moving. And then you've got that wide zone where that's going to create a lot of big runs. And the wide zone is kind of thought of or could be comparable to just deep passes in the passing game, that post shot, whatever it may be. And you're kind of just creating a big play, an explosive play in the running. We saw Florida had some of their biggest plays when they would wide zone or when they ran a wide zone concept last year in the run game, and Dan Mullen kind of shied away from it for a bit. And it was like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, getting rid of your job, apparently. But when you look at the three pillars of Billy Napier's offense, you got that 12 personnel heavy. It's going to be a thing. You've got pre-snap motion. It's going to be a thing. And the wide zone. And you can combine them all on the same play. You can have two tight ends. One tight end goes in motion, and then you run the wide zone. And that is, you can combine them all on the same play. And that's going to be big. That F tight end, who's kind of more like the receiver, which will probably be someone like Arlis Boardingham, who just committed yesterday. He made the right decision. He chose Florida over Oregon, 3-star wide receiver tight end that Florida listed as a tight end. So we can see him moving around. Keon Zipper is going to be moving around. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be as explosive a run game as you can get, where guys like Osiris Torrance last year operated in the system, and he dominated by pretty much every measure you can possibly use, whether watching the film or if you want to use a PFF grade, go ahead. I believe he was in the 90s as a run blocker last year. So this is going to be big. And it also helps kind of, if you can get them to work as a unit, it really helps cover up if there are any weak spots on the offensive line. And we know that there are weak spots on the offensive line in Florida. So running this wide zone kind of helps shield you from that. And it's something that I'm actually really excited to see work out. Unfortunately for me, it probably means, or not the wide zone means less split zone read. Billy Napier probably means less split zone read. I haven't seen it that much when watching Louisiana, but hopefully we get some of it just for my sake. You know, I just want to see it. Anybody else make money this weekend? I did one night bet, but also last night I got cleaned out. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action. And last night I gave them quite a good deal of money because I had bet all singles, round robin, and parlays, which I don't have time to explain. But I was one rebound away for Jordan Poole. I needed one more Jordan Poole rebound. I needed one more Andrew Wiggins rebound, and I needed one more Mike Conley point. So that really screwed me over. But BetOnline covers award shows, TV shows, reality TV with real-time updated props on almost, I'm not going to do the high pitch thing, anything you can imagine. Someone's sleeping in the next room. It's the best way to place your bets, and it's 100% free to sign up. Head to the website or use your mobile device, because that's how I always bet. I don't have my phone near me, but betonline.net. It's where the game starts, and it's the best mobile betting app that you're going to find. Also, a quick reminder that today is the NBA trade deadline, so be sure to check out the Locked On NBA YouTube channel from 2 p.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern, as Kim Becker, John Corrales, and Josh Lloyd will all be live analyzing the moves, and I'll probably be in the chat. Like, I love me a good trade deadline, so I'll probably be there. But looking at the Florida Gators versus Georgia Bulldogs men's basketball game from last night, the Gators are now 16-8, and Georgia has fallen to 6-18, which is cool little flip of the numbers there. As in the 6 and the 8, obviously, whatever. The Gators went up big early. But actually, before I get into that, I want to talk about that first play of the game. If you didn't watch the game, it was dope to see because Colin Castleton, he won the tip-off. Tyree Appleby, caught the ball and he started walking up court, and then you just see him, and that's my lob. That's my lob. And then he just lobs it up, and Colin Castleton finishes the oop, and it was just such an emphatic way to start the game. It was just like, hey, guess what, baby? We here. So it was a sick way to start the game. But looking at the actual way the game unfolded, the Gators, in typical Gators or Mike White fashion, whichever way you want to talk about it, they had a big lead. They went up early over Georgia, and then typical, again, Gators or Mike White fashion, they let Georgia close the gap. And Florida was up 38-30 at halftime, so that's still very solid. But there were some large leads there in the first half that Georgia would close, and then even in the second half, Florida would separate and Georgia would close, and it was just yo-yo up, yo-yo down kind of thing. It was rough to watch. And yeah, it just kept being like every time I think I'm out. They pulled me back in with Florida getting the lead, and Georgia just bringing them back in. Florida would ultimately win the game 72-63, but that's not the major story. That's not even the top two story from this game. First one is Colin Castleton's injury, because obviously you guys would know Colin Castleton, superstar center for Florida. He missed 6 games with a shoulder injury that we were told was significant. And then he came back this past Saturday against Ole Miss. And then reports came out earlier this week that Colin Castleton aggravated that shoulder injury, or maybe just re-injured it, whatever you want to call it. That shoulder was hurting him after that game against Ole Miss, but that he would still try to go against Georgia, which is admirable effort. Just admirable effort, dude. But at a certain point in that game, Colin Castleton was battling, boxing out, and then he jumped up to grab a rebound, and when he came down, he was holding his shoulder, and that sucked. He was holding that same left shoulder that was injured, and then he went to the bench for a few minutes, and the camera kept panning to him of just him holding his shoulder in pain, clearly in visible pain. And the camera's like, hey, this is some good stuff right here. So he's holding his left shoulder, clearly in pain. And then he comes back in a few minutes, and that's fine. But it's more like, well, just how bad is this injury? Because we still don't know exactly what happened. We've just been told it's significant, and clearly it's something that's still hampering him. So look, if I'm Mike White, which thank goodness I'm not, but if I'm Mike White, actually that paycheck wouldn't be bad. I'm sitting Colin Castleton until we're sure he's good, because if this team can make a run for the March Madness tournament, you need Colin Castleton, or you're going to get blown out in the first game. So I think that, sit Colin Castleton. Kentucky's this Saturday, probably going to get curb stomped anyway. Just let him rest, dude, because it ain't going to be pretty. I can tell you that much. But Colin Castleton did finish the game with 13 points on 6 of 9 shooting, with 9 rebounds and 4 blocks. It's a pretty typical Colin Castleton stat line, if you ask me, including missing that time where he probably could have did a little more work if he was feeling better. But hey, I'm going to take what I can get and take this W. And the second big storyline from this game, at least for me, is Myron Jones. And I forgot who said it. I wish I remember who said it. But I saw a tweet that basically said, welcome to the SEC, Penn State Myron Jones. And that about sums up Myron Jones' time in Gainesville so far perfectly, because, Myron Jones, he came to Florida as this this kind of big name ad where, sure, maybe he wasn't this nationally loved player, but I think most people could recognize, he was a baller at Penn State. He did his thing. And since he's come to Florida, he's been just so wildly inconsistent, to the point where he essentially got benched for shooting so poorly, so consistent. That was the only thing he did consistently, was be inconsistent. And so he hasn't really lived up to that name until tonight, kinda. This was, that's why I say kinda, because granted, it was just one game, but we saw him, I don't know, we've seen him catch fire before. We've seen him do that. But tonight just felt different. Well, last night just felt different to me. He was out there playing, he caught fire and he was doing that, but it just felt like he was playing with a certain swagger that we hadn't really seen from him, or a certain comfort level that we hadn't really seen from him to this point. So Jones had 23 points on 7 for 11 shooting, all from 3, and the other points are free throws. 2 assists and 2 blocks. That's a damn good stat line, if you're asking me. And he came in, and again, he was just coming and he was shooting with confidence. We've seen him shoot the ball a lot before, and people are like, oh, he's confident. But we saw him shoot with confidence. He shot and he was like, look, this is going in. So Myron Jones, welcome. This is the perfect time to get ramped up and revved up, because it's time. We need you, especially if Colin Castleton is injured. We need the rest of this team to step up, of course, with Jatobo out too. So just working our way down the big men, where just throw 5 guards out there or 4 guards and Anthony DeRugi and just be like, hey man, this is what we got. Like that's all we have here. Flanders Fleming is still driving me insane because he had 4 steals and 6 rebounds, and that's awesome. But how even 8 points is fine, but shooting 3 for 9 is definitely not okay. It's completely unacceptable, and so wild inefficiency that this whole offense has struggled with all year. But he's still starting and he's still doing it. Next game, like I mentioned, this Saturday, number 5 Kentucky, which hats off to you. Good luck, Florida, because this is probably going to be a pretty ugly one. Wrapping up today's show, we're talking about the Florida Gators versus Mississippi State women's basketball game tonight. That game is happening at 6:30 Eastern Time in Starkville, Mississippi, against the 14-7 Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Florida Gators are finally ranked. Their women's basketball team is finally ranked. They have entered the top 25 at number 19 after running the freaking gauntlet at this point. And Mississippi State is on a 3-game winning streak. But before getting really into this game, I'm going to do something that I want to do, and I did on Twitter, and I spoke about it with other people. But big shout out to Kim Mulkey. If you don't know Kim Mulkey is the head coach of the LSU women's basketball team. And I'm going to give a big shout out to Kim Mulkey, because if you didn't see Kim Mulkey's press conference from the other day, her post-game presser the other day, she talked about Kelly Rae Finley, and she basically said, I'm not going to do the accent, but she basically said along the lines of like, I don't know why they haven't hired her yet as the head coach. When talking about Kelly Rae Finley, she was like, I don't know why they haven't hired her yet as the head coach, but someone else will if Florida doesn't. So I'd like Florida, get on it, chop, man. But basically Kim Mulkey was like, I don't know why they haven't done it, because someone else will. Like, she's a damn good coach. And Kim Mulkey even said, she went, this isn't even me putting up for a friend. I don't know her, but I like what I see, and I know what I see. That was my kind of accent, but also it's 3:15 in the morning, so I'm not doing a full accent. But basically, yes. Kim Mulkey, the LSU women's basketball head coach, was like, look, Kelly Rae Finley, she's dope. She's good at her job. She's got this team cooking and rolling with everything. And Kelly Rae Finley, like, you're a goat. Like, you need the full-time job. I would say I'd pay for it myself, but I'm broke. So no. But Texas A&M, Mississippi State is on a 3-game winning streak with W's over Missouri, which is fun, Texas A&M, and Auburn. And I ain't going to lie to you. If you're looking at this game in a tail of the tape kind of way, it doesn't look pretty for Florida. Mississippi State can put up points. They don't get demolished defensively. They don't turn the ball over a ton. They do a phenomenal job of contesting shots and blocking shots. They're averaging like 6.5 blocks per game. It's wild. They're just overall a damn good basketball team. But hear me out. I don't give a damn. Simply put, I've been putting my faith in, and I will continue to put my faith in Kelly Rae Finley, in Kiki Smith, in Jordan Merritt, in Nina Rickards, in Faith Dude, in Floor Tunders, in Zippy Broughton, in Emanuele Gioliveri, and Alberto Rimdahl, in the entire Florida Gators women's basketball team. Because they have done nothing for me to not just say, screw it, they're going to win. Which obviously that thought process will eventually backfire. But I'm going to ride the wave until I'm gonna ride this wave until it didn't work. I'm gonna let you know that, because it's just, no matter what the game is, no matter what the team is, these women figure out a way to not only compete, but to win these games. And so until they give me a reason not to, I will continue to do nothing but put my utmost faith in them, because that's what they deserve. It's just right now, the Florida Gators women's basketball team, they just feel different in the sense of they are built different, but also in the sense of it just feels different. Like on paper, it ain't a great matchup, but we don't give a damn because paper don't measure heart. So paper don't measure heart. Paper don't measure competitiveness. So I'm going to do nothing but just continue head down. Kelly Rae Finley, you got it. Like I'm going to continue to put my faith in you. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget tomorrow's episode, live stream 11 a.m. Eastern time. That will be the Friday episode for the week. And it's going to be all about our Florida Gators. Obviously, for Locked On Gators, I am Brandon Olson. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work with Whole Line Sports. That is WHOLE and INE Sports. And I will see you all tomorrow live at 11 a.m. Eastern time.